Currents. It's only 2:45. It's not even past 5 o'clock, and the lift has already been initiated. You know, barring any extreme, unforeseen circumstance, my back, lats, traps, teres major, rhomboids, probably a touch of rear delts. It's about to get pumped up. It is about to get pumped up. And for me, back has historically been a bit of a strong point. It's getting a little more even now. You know, it's not so jarring that it's ahead of the game compared to everything else, but it is still ahead. You know, when I do a back double bicep, my arms are still behind size-wise than my back. So when I start bulking up again and I'm actually trying to really gain muscle, you know, put contractile tissue onto my frame, I'm going to ease up on my back training a little bit so that I've got, you know, a little bit more, let's just say, nutrients and energy at the rest of my body's disposal. You know, if you selectively train specific muscle groups, they are going to progress faster than if you're hitting everything at once. You know, if I completely pause my training of my entire body and I only train arms for the next 6 months, I think my arms would probably see some pretty serious gains. Maybe not like triple. I mean, you know, they're not going to triple in size, of course, but that's how I've seen historically the approach with stronger muscle groups be, you know, taken. Right? So I've actually I've gone through pretty long periods of time where I didn't train back at all. You know, I think the longest I ever did was like not 6. It was like 5-ish months, no back training, just all chest, arms, legs, shoulders. And shoulders has been out of the loop for quite some time. Front delts especially. So I think this will be worth mentioning. You know, the reason that there isn't a video once a week where I'm like, today I'm going to show you my shoulder training. And it's really because there's nothing to see, man. There is no shoulder training. Not right now. I mean, I might get a shoulder pump every now and again just for kicks, but my shoulders are ahead of the game compared to my arms and back. It's they're a little bit more, let's just say, in proportion when I'm dieted down, just because I'm not so full of carbs and everything. But, you know, as soon as I start getting pumped up from bulking up, dude, shoulder, it's like I've got shoulder pads on. And I mean, my arms aren't small, but relatively, you know, I need this diameter, this circumference to beef up. Shoulders wise, you know, they're big enough. But there was a rather simple approach. I mean, what else are you supposed to do with shoulders? All you're doing is side laterals, rear delt flies, face pulls, and then front delt work if necessary. And for the most part, I think front delts are kind of unnecessary to hit, man. As long as you're doing hard pressing, more than likely, well, let's not even talk about the training style. Just look at you, everybody around you, maybe keep an eye out for this the next time that you go to the gym. Shoulders wise, everyone's front delt is going to be the biggest third. And then their side delt is going to be a little, you know, a touch smaller. And their rear delt will be the smallest. That's what can kind of give people a little bit of a rounded over hunched look, because, you know, even though their shoulder's nice and round and bulbous in the front, they don't have that cap around the back tying into their rear delts. So, I mean, little public service announcement. Before I basically totally stopped training my shoulders, I hadn't been doing front delts for years. You know, I think I did, I would do shoulder press, you know, dumbbell, machine press, all the basics for a long time. But, yeah, I kind of phased out front delts maybe 3 years ago, 3.5 or so. Like, I can't even remember the last time that I did an overhead dumbbell press. And, you know, that's just because my front delts are overly developed. But I think that's true across the board. If you actually want to make your shoulders pop, then you're going to be, let's just say your time investment is going to be much better spent just grinding rear delts, you know, in any way imaginable. Be it heavy bent over side laterals where you kind of do a, I mean, you're basically just doing like a rear delt machine but with dumbbells, or really heavy face pulls. I've seen some people do a really wide grip like straight bar on a seated cable row and do like basically face pulls, like really high upright, not shrugs, but kind of rows. I think that might be a little silly. But if your rear delts were to double in size, that would give you a much, I don't want to say freakier, but a kind of a bigger, more complete look to your shoulders than if your front delts were, you know. So I'll do shoulders every so often, but I'm not really going to need to, you know, hit them as hard as I possibly can until my arms are really up to par. And then I can try to build everything at the same time. So that's in the distant future, but I'm very hopeful for it, you know. The day that I can wake up and have arms that are 20 inches around cold, like right now I think I'm about 19, so you know, it's not too far off, but that is a pretty dang nice thought to have. And I'm sure by the time I get there, I'm going to be saying the exact same thing I'm saying now, except about 21-inch arms, you know. So don't get too attached to the numbers. You're much better off getting attached to the process itself. But finals week, honestly, if I had to guess, I'm going to the rec center. I bet, I don't know. I was going to say it's probably dead because everybody's cramming, but I have a history of making incorrect predictions about how busy the gym is going to be. So let's just get in there and find out. Let's go nuts on pole dance. I need a different song though. Yeah. One more. Give me 1 second for a rest pause. Let's do some rows. I was going to try to do the stack, but upon further inspection of one feeler rep, a little too heavy, a little too heavy. So instead, I'm just going to transition from heavier, nasty reps, like I just did a pull downs, to a more squeezing, slow, controlled set. I'm trying to burn out with this one. One more, same style. Okay. Time for something else to be determined. I was thinking about doing like a lat bias, either like pull down to pull over or something. But, well, half the reason I jumped on this machine is because it was finally open. It's a little bit on the busier end today. So let's throw one of these around. Maybe two. This will be reasonably controlled, but, you know, kind of nasty towards the end. You know how I like it. Let me drop that. Let's do a pullover set. One more. Yep. Yeah. One more. Yep. Thank you. That was a really good one. I had to pre-exhaust with like 5 pull-ups though, because if you watch the last back day video, I got an assisted set just like that, but it took me like 20 reps before I needed assistance. So, struggling from success. I wish this stack went heavier, but let's move on to something else. Goodness. Alternating single arm pullovers. 5 reps each side, back and forth, back and forth. You get the idea. Oh, weak side first. Okay, that's too light. Yeah. Okay. Oh my. Oh my goodness. I would not call this a complete movement. You know, something like a pullover or a row. No. A pull down or a row. That's more of a complete movement. You got tension across the entire range of motion. Whereas with something like this, at least the one arm pullover that I'm doing, there's not much tension up here. I'm just kind of holding the weight. I'm really just focusing on the squeeze at the bottom. You know, it's like if this is more of a converging chest press. You know, most of the work that you're doing is right in here to squeeze, and then you get a decent stretch, squeeze it again. But back is nearly done. I think 1 or 2 more steps, and then we can pose down. This will be a light-ish squeezing set. I would, well, I'm feeling a little bit risky. This little handle is like missing a bolt. And it sucks because I really love this like shoulder width neutral grip handle. I would have loved this for the heavy rows in the beginning, but I don't want it to break, have me do a backflip and get embarrassed and hurt. So, you know, if your machine looks slightly faulty, maybe use some caution, but this will be a good one. Okay. Oh, let's make it drop set. Come on. Kind of a gentle failure. I think 1 more set of something, and we're done. Okay, so this is not a crazy heavy set. This is more so I'm trying to pump as much blood into my lats, you know, mid traps, everywhere kind of area. So lighter weight, I mean, no, that's about as light as I need to go. And then I'm really trying to squeeze it. You know, you get the idea. Boy. Okay. All right. Let's pose. Solid back pump by feeling. Let's see if it's the same shit visually. Spoiler alert, I know it is. All right, now we're getting real old school. This is where a bunch of the OG fucking TikToks got clipped. Because I would put my phone up here on this ledge. I didn't have a tripod at the time. How times have changed. But let's see how we're looking. After, I didn't even really count how many sets that was. I don't know, 7-ish? Nothing crazy. Well within the margin of what I would call a good workout. If I were to sit here and do like 15 sets total,
I would, or if somebody told me they did 15 sets total for back, I'd probably be, I wouldn't say concerned, but I'd be interested. I'd want to know how your pump progressed over those 15 sets. Because for me, I mean, by the time I get to 8 or even 10, probably at the max, I'm as pumped as I'm going to get. And I've, gone pretty much as hard as I'm going to go, to the point where I feel in the sets that I'm doing onward, like I'm not really doing anything. I'm just kind of doing workouts and sets for their own, for their own sake, not for the sake of like, okay, I want to make this set fucking nuts. Because if your sets, I mean, I hate when people say this. I think it's such a silly argument. They're like, you can't do more than 10 sets and be going hard. But I'd be kind of curious. If you're actually pushing it, I think by the time you hit like 8 or whatever, I think you're done. But we'll run through a couple and then get out of here. Scoot forward a touch in the fancier lighting. Oh. All right, same thing backwards, and then we get out of here. Oh. All right, let's go eat something.
There it is. There it is, without fail. Another reasonably nasty back day. I tell you what, though, I would not mind a 1 month time skip, because I'm getting fucking excited to bulk up, which I always am. I'm always kind of excited for what's next. At the end of the last bulk, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to trim down. I'm done with this, forcing down the food thing, not gaining any more weight. I gotta do a little system reset. And then once you start kind of the dieting phase of it, you get to a point where you're let's just say you're ready to start chowing down. You're ready to start being extra full. But give it time. Give it time. So if this is you, if you're mid-diet and you're like, well, I'm a little bit leaner than I was before, come on, finish strong. Don't just cut it short. See just how many bicep veins you can make appear before you start actually chowing down and gaining weight. Because apart from the fact that it is going to be better for you in a lifting context, just kind of overall, to be a little on the lower end of the body fat spectrum, I'd say probably sub 20%. That's kind of the sweet spot. If you're walking around like 5% below, like trying to be absolutely diced 24/7 year round, that's a little tricky. But no, that's sub 20. I think that's where you want to be. Any more than that, at least in a muscle building context, I'd say unnecessary. So if that's you, if you're a lean 10, you got some veins in your calves when you're fully pumped up from your 10-minute walk to class or whatever you got to do in your day, then it might be worth chowing down, starting to bulk. But it's not really up to me to say. That's kind of your own situation. I'm not going to repeat the speech from yesterday, but I was really getting into like, you got to pick something. Because for me, I like the fact that I'm either always dieting down, in a body fat loss state, or if I'm trying to bulk up, in a weight gaining state. Maintenance, if that is not your intent, is really fucking unfortunate, because I'm sure you see guys at your gym who they're not making changes, they're not getting much stronger. You got to remember, apart from the initial phase of working out where you have a pretty wide margin of error that's still going to allow you to grow, newbie gain style, that goes away. So it's actually going to require, not actually, this is a surprise, but gains wise, progress wise, strength wise, progressive overload, everything, it's going to demand more of you over time because you get diminishing returns. So you've got to kind of gradually optimize your routine to keep up with it, right? It's like you're fighting inflation. You can't just keep doing the same shit or else you're going to fall behind. So if you know somebody whose training style hasn't really changed much, and honestly I think the training style part, or like your specific split, that's those two, they pretty much take the blame a lot of the time. When people talk about like, oh, are you doing, oh, I'm trying to Mike Mentzer style, or I feel like I've heard Mike Mentzer style, German volume style. I don't know who else. What other kind of lifting styles have I heard people reference? Whatever. They talk about all these different approaches, and some people have a better explanation for what they're doing than others, and it's like, I'm trying to I've heard full body every day. I mean, for general fitness, I guess you're fine, but for muscle growth, I think you're a little bit off base, just a touch. But it's, I think those things are a little arbitrary. As long as your basic framework of the, your workout week, your split is fine. You hit everything about twice per week. Maybe, even if you're close to the 10 set per lift range, I'm talking like 10 sets of curls for buys, or 10 sets of chest for, total for the workout. I mean, fuck, man. I've done workouts where I only did 5 sets for the specific body part and I liked it and it seemed to be working. And I've done ones where I used to do as a beginner, I was literally doing 25 set workouts. Now they took forever. They were a bit fluffy, like I wasn't really pushing it on every set, but still making gains. So what I read from that, and the fact that everybody trains in such different fucking ways, and everyone loves, oh, well, you have to do it like I do it, because the way I do it has been working. It's not so cut and dry, man. Your favorite ice cream is not your favorite ice cream is not the best ice cream. It's the one you like the most, but it doesn't apply to everybody else. So, from my perspective, the things that you need to really get in order are the ones which have a reasonably equivalent effect regardless of, somebody's individual situation, as it were. And what I mean by that is, if you can lock your diet in and get your proper amount of protein and, carbs and fats to actually facilitate having a good workout, being able to recover from it, yeah. Once you get that in order, compared to having it be way out of whack, like if you're not eating enough food, of course you're not going to grow, things like that. It doesn't matter if you're doing, a 3-day-a-week workout split, or if you're doing a 7-day, twice 2-a-day, kind of high school football style workouts. It doesn't matter. Your calorie intake is going to affect everybody in the same way. If you eat in a surplus, you'll grow. If you eat in a deficit, you'll get leaner. If you eat a maintenance, you're going to maintain where you're at. You got some potential for some main gaining over time. Very legit approach. So, diet-wise, I think everybody needs to lock in a bit more. Sleep-wise, this is basic shit. We all know we should go to bed earlier, get our 8 hours minimum. I got to work on that as well, of course. And then when it comes to the training itself, I really think upping your intensity is what's going to make the biggest change in terms of your results or your trajectory of results. Because if every workout I did was half-assed and I just went through the motions of like a 10 rep set, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work the same. I'm not going to get that same stimulus as actually pushing myself. And the same thing goes for you. I know that if you leave 10 reps in the tank on a set of, let's say cable rows or pull downs, and you just stop your sets once it feels a little bit uncomfortable, what do you think is going to happen? Be honest with me. What do you really think is going to happen? Because I'll tell you, it's fucking nothing. You can go to the gym, you can wear a stringer and take pre-workout, but that doesn't make you a lifter. Not for real, right? I think in the grand scheme of things, there's gym goers. No ripping on them. Not everyone has to be a total nut about I mean, it's probably not. It would probably be a bad thing if everyone was a complete like freak show about the gym, 24/7 meathead, the type. But just going to the gym doesn't make you a lifter. The exertion and going through the process of actually taking sets to, literally as hard as you physically can. I think that's where the real money is. So don't be so concerned about making sure that your frequency with my frequency in targeting my lower lats is adequate. Whatever. Lift as heavy as you can manage with decent form and for at least 10 or so reps. Finish with some hard squeezing pump work. Pose down. See your progress pictures improve over time. Make sure you get your protein in. Take a multivitamin. Get your fish oil in at the end of the day as well. Even if it, I'll hear this a lot, it kind of gives people a little bit of a nasty aftertaste. How bad do you want it? It's like that's the barrier to entry of gains, being able to handle a little bit of a nasty fish taste. But I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say there. I don't want to just bust out this quote all the time, but the harder you go, the better you'll do. So that's my take, at least. That's the take of a reasonably endowed lifter. But don't worry, this is not my end state. And I'm sure in a couple of years, I'll probably be saying slightly different things when it comes to training and when it comes to diet. The last thing that you want to do, secondly, so this is what I would like to see in lifters across the board. Tracking your macros, doing your cardio, training as hard as physically possible for you, and keeping an open mind. That's that's up there. That's probably as important as any of the other ones. Because if you get locked into one single routine and one single mindset, one single mentality about what you're doing, you're gonna go stale, man. You are gonna go stale. So that's my ending statement there. I'm fucking starving right now. All I had to eat today was a Subway sandwich, 2 waffles, a protein shake, and some egg whites. Which I guess kind of sounds like a lot, but it's, it only added up to 1,500 calories. So I think I'll have a big ass steak. Big ass steak with something. But that's all I got. Cardio in the morning, arms tomorrow. Hopefully the freakiest pump I've ever had in my life. I'm at least going to try to make it so. And then legs in 2 days. I better make sure I'm already well rested before then. Just so I can, make sure I can really throw some shit around and stimulate my quads as much as possible. So, no more rambling. Get back to your day. Or go to sleep if you're watching this super late. If you just heard me say this shit about get your sleep and you're staying up, come on, what are you doing? But I'll see you tomorrow.